Hello and welcome to Death, the podcast about death, dying, and how it relates to us, the living. My name is Jordan Bulgis, and as always, I am here with...
Jasmine Rayburn.
And just plain old Rob. Just
plain
Rob.
old Rob.
It's Bob now. I go by Bob now.
Okay.
Not a Bobby? You could be a
no,
Bobby.
No. I'm just Bob.
What about Bobbert?
No, it's... So there's a common theme amongst people named Robert where they go through the progressions of Rob.
Yeah.
They start as Bobby when they're very young, and then they become Robbie in their, preteens, teens, and then they become Rob once they're out of high school, and then they're Robert, and then in their old age they become Bob.
That makes sense.
And I feel like I'm on the precipice of Bob now.
Bob?
Yeah. I'm teetering between Robert and Bob.
Nice.
And the mustache is a big part of that.
Yeah.
If you're a Bob, you got to have a mustache.
Yeah. So here we
Any
are.
Bobs out there without a mustache, you're doing it wrong.
Get it
Figure
together.
your shit out. Unless you're like a female Bobby and you go by Bob, in which case, congratulations on not having a mustache.
Do what you want.
Also, that's a power move if you're going by Bob. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go in
Bob.
for a job interview, people are like, what?
What?
Do you go by Rob or Robert? Bob.
Bob.
Bob, actually.
Baran. Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Cryonics.
Cryonics, the saddest of all the Pokemon.
What?
It does sound like a little bit.
That's not a Pokemon.
Onyx?
That's not one of the original 150.
An Onyx is?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I can't.
There we go.
I just got it.
We got there.
I just got it. Cryonics.
Anyway, now that we got that out of the way.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Jasmine, what is Cryonics?
A lot of people know it as Cryogenics, but it's actually different.
Those people are wrong.
Those people are wrong.
Idiots.
I'm just going to read the definition from cryogenicsociety.org. And they say body freezing is not cryogenics. It's cryonics, and cryonics is not the same as cryogenics. They really stress this a lot.
Right.
We wish to clarify that cryogenics, which deals with extremely low temperatures, has no connection with cryonics, the belief that a person's body or body parts can be frozen at death, stored in a cryogenic vessel, and later brought back to life. We do not endorse this belief and indeed find it untenable.
What does untenable mean?
It's like not feasible,
Okay.
not okay.
I'm a dumb
not
guy
allowed.
over
No
here.
bueno.
I'm a dumb guy over here, so I just learned a new word.
Yeah, untenable.
Untenable.
New word a day.
Hey.
Popular culture is full of mistaken references to cryogenics in terms of body freezing. Individuals, script writers, novelists, TV writers, everyone, please do not confuse these two words. So that's our little disclaimer. This is why we're saying cryonics and not cryogenics, because they are different.
They different things.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about freezing our bodies.
Yeah.
Immediately after death. There's a couple other terms for it as well.
The big freeze.
The big freeze, yeah.
Chill out.
The long freeze instead of the long sleep.
The old Disney sleep.
Yeah.
The whole Disney sleep.
You think he was just motivated by Snow White and Sleeping Beauty? Like he made those movies and he's like, I want to do
great
that.
idea. I don't know. Maybe it was his estate that
I mean,
made
you're
the
referring
decision.
to Walt Disney cutting his head off and freezing it?
Yeah.
Now, is that just an urban legend or is that verified?
I don't know if that's verified. I kind of
I didn't
assume it is true because Walt Disney was a crazy bastard
I
who
don't
had
think
a lot of wacky beliefs.
it's impossible.
No, it's not impossible, but it's also at that time the technology was so new that they didn't have things like vitrification, which is a huge part of being able to freeze yourself and then
When did he
not
die?
have... I don't know. But it was early, and if it is frozen somewhere, it's just a hunk of ice that is shaped like a
Walt
head.
Disney passed away on December 15th, 1966, at the age of 65.
So
Right.
the first guy that got frozen was 1967.
Yes.
Yes.
But that was also before vitrification. So,
Yeah.
again, it's kind of just like there's a frozen corpse somewhere, but probably
According to Snopes,
not salvageable.
it is not true.
Dang it.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
I would put that in the category of pop culture cryonics. And we'll talk about a couple people who have actually done it. Interesting resource to check out would be cryonics.org, where they talk about the process and what it is.
Yeah. Cryonics.org is a company, though.
Yes, of course.
The Cryonics Institute is there to make money.
These are very much for profit businesses.
Everything that you read or listen to on these websites, take it with a grain of salt because they are just trying to make a buttload of cash.
Yeah. And go
Not
to...
too much salt, though. You don't want to defreeze everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas,
that might be actually helpful for vitrification.
Whereas cryogenicsociety.org is a nonprofit, just so you know. It's a collection of scientists.
Important distinction to make.
Very important.
So,
especially to them. I'm sure they get lumped in a lot.
We want to start by talking about the process of cryonics first, and then we'll go into kind of like the historical cases.
Yeah.
Like the first guy and then the first Canadian, or I guess BC man.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple different news bites that we pulled.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to find actual cases of it. I mean, Cryonics.org claims that thousands of people have had this done, but I don't really know what the numbers are.
They claim that thousands of people have signed up for the treatment.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that there's 1,000 bodies somewhere. Yeah. There's probably like a couple hundred in their warehouse. That's just a wild guess, but based on the pictures I've seen of their facility, got a lot of steel body holding looking things.
A lot of vats.
Yeah, like you can't see into them, so you don't know if there's things in there. But
it looks like a winery.
Yeah,
a winery from the future.
Yeah, space winery. It's like the winery on the International Space Station.
Yeah, exactly.
So, according to Quora.com, and this is referenced from cryonics.org, there are 7 cryonics organizations worldwide. 5 of them are within the United States. 1 is in Russia and 1 is in Portugal. Altogether would mean that there's an estimated 269 individuals cryogenically frozen as of April 2013.
See, I said hundreds.
Yeah.
269. And if it's been going...
And this is as of 2013. That's the total.
2013. Yeah. Okay, so there might be a little bit more then.
Yeah.
But that's not a whole hell of a lot.
No.
If it's been going since
but
67.
There's thousands of people that have signed up to have the treatment. When
apparently,
they do eventually
pass away
and whatever the medical term for it is,
pronounced
dead, legally dead.
Did you want to talk a little bit about the process, Rob?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. So I've got here pulled up, it's Cryonics Institute, Technology for Life, cryonics.org. This is their step-by-step guide to the cryonics procedure, and I'll just kind of go through it more bullet point. So the first thing that would happen is you have like a medical alert bracelet basically, and they have this thing called standby care. So once you are legally pronounced dead, they'll know that you want to be cryogenically frozen. So they start by placing the body into like a vat of ice water basically, and that stops like cellular breakdown and your metabolism that is still functioning after death slows down. And that's kind of like the pre-treatment. And they also do that to help transport, because dead bodies got to be cold. But in this case, they've got to be much colder.
Can you imagine being like the doctor, like the nurse at the hospitals who was like a failed surgery, and then just some cryonics dude rocks up and be like, I need this body now.
Yeah.
Looks like the agents from E.T. They all just storm in the room in
Men in Black,
bodysuits.
just like pushing people out of the way. It's like, this is our jurisdiction now.
Just taking themselves very, very seriously.
So the procedure 1, initial cool down and transport. If possible, CI members, that's Cryonics Institute, should arrange to have a Cryonics standby team standing at their bedside when they are in terminal condition. So this is for people that are at end of life. Such a team can initiate rapid cool down and provide other helpful standby procedures. The patient should be pronounced dead as soon as possible after clinical death, which usually means after cessation of heartbeat and breathing. Cessation, another word I've learned today.
Yeah.
Cool. The patient should be cooled immediately, especially the head, because the head is like the densest part of your body, so it takes the longest to cool.
That makes sense, yeah.
By application of ice, a slurry of ice water can cool much faster than ice cubes alone. They probably put even a little bit of salt in there. I just know that lowers the temperature of ice water. They might do that. They might not. Who knows? Not this guy. An anticoagulant should be injected to prevent the blood from clotting. So this is also for transportation, just so that the body is really, really cold, but the blood is still liquid.
Yeah.
Because they need to, the next step will be adding cryoprotectants, which they need the blood to be liquid. So when using the anticoagulant, it has like the dosage listed here. I'm not going to go over that because it just varies by body weight, how much heparin is used. So once the heparin is injected, cardiopulmonary support or chest compressions are required for 5 minutes to circulate the heparin, and then basically it's ready for transport. So they would transport from wherever to, in this case, Michigan, which is where the CI facility is. Alcor, is that the other?
It's just Alcor.
Alcor is the other big cryonics lab, I guess, service, and they're located in Arizona. So I'm assuming they're just traveling by ambulance.
That makes sense. You know, if you're going to freeze a bunch of bodies, you'd want to do it in the fucking
In
hottest
the hottest
place.
in a fucking desert.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, Michigan makes some sense, I guess, because Michigan is the Midwest, right? So it's like fairly central in the States.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know the States that well.
It gets pretty cold, and if it's in Detroit, they could use whatever industry.
Yeah. They could use old car warehouses.
Yeah, lots
old vehicle manufacturing warehouses. If the patient, it says here, if the patient can be moved to the Michigan area before death occurs, it will eliminate transport delays, which, greatly decreases the time it takes for procedure 1, which is the initial cool down and transport.
Yeah, if you can kind of skip all that and get right to
Yeah,
the freeze and the good stuff.
get right into the good stuff. I think that the initial cool down is still necessary, because if you just dump this body with, like, if you put all the cryoprotectants in it and you dump the body into the liquid nitrogen bath at like room or body temperature,
cell damage.
It'll do cell damage, so it
yeah.
needs to be cooled to like at least below freezing.
But you wouldn't have to do the
But
the antifreeze and stuff like that then,
you would
right?
still have to do the antifreeze.
Okay.
The antifreeze is important because that's a procedure called vitrification. Vitrification is when something freezes but it remains in a liquid state. Mm-hmm. So the big harm in freezing a body is ice crystal formation.
Yeah.
It fucks up internal organs because the cell walls are so thin. An ice crystal can like cut blood vessels and can damage like brain tissue and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the next step, is upon arrival at the facility, the cryoprotectant agents are added. I'm just looking for the name of the cryoprotectants. CIVM1 is what this cryoprotectant is called. It's basically antifreeze. You're basically replacing, they're going to slowly replace more and more of your blood with cryoprotectant until it's 70% cryoprotectant, 30% blood. I guess there needs to be some liquid in there that's not just cryoprotectant. I'm sure they have a good reason for doing that.
Yeah,
And
definitely have a good reason.
Yeah, and then basically what this does
Science people.
is it keeps the liquids in your body from freezing entirely and forming those harmful ice crystals, but it's still like they're going to basically freeze your body to, I think, negative 198 degrees Celsius.
Something around that, 192,
Which is, like,
198.
Cold AF, fam.
Well, yeah.
And so
Isn't it the same temperature as like liquid nitrogen?
yeah, it would be around that temperature, right? Yeah, negative 196 Celsius. So basically, step 2 is the perfusion, which that's the adding the cryoprotectants to blood, and they always have a licensed funeral director that performs the perfusion because it's very similar to embalming.
Mm-hmm.
So they have the most experience, I guess, with that, and it's cheaper than a doctor.
And also,
yeah,
how many doctors are going to want to do this?
I mean, I'm sure there's
Yeah, I don't know.
several.
There's got to be
I'm
someone
sure
doing
there's
it.
several. So the whole time that they're doing this perfusion, they're keeping the body cold. They're usually doing these procedures in a freezer, so that the body is always below freezing. They just hook up big tubes to like the carotid arteries to gain the most direct access to blood flow, and then I think they just do like chest compressions until everything's circulated throughout the body.
I mean, it seems easier just to freeze them in carbonate. I don't know why you don't do that.
Yeah.
Han Solo came back fine. He couldn't see for a while, but then he got over it.
He did get over it.
Yeah, exactly. Spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen The Empire Strikes Back.
We don't care about those
Fuck
people.
you.
Yeah.
If they haven't seen it, we don't care. And then procedure 3, or step 3, is the further cool down and storage. So the patient is carefully placed into a cooling unit on their back. There's an insulation pouch that's opened slightly to allow for consistent cooling. And the appropriate program is selected to steadily cool the patient. I'm assuming this is like a program on the actual cryogenic unit, based on like body mass and weight of the body. The appropriate program is selected and steadily cool the patient to liquid nitrogen temperatures. The process of cooling the patient to negative 196 degrees Celsius takes 5.5 days, and the cooling is done by CI's computer-controlled cooling unit. The computer-controlled cooling unit constantly monitors the temperature inside the cooling unit via thermocouple, and at the end of the cooling process, the patient is carefully removed from the cooling unit and the insulation pouch is closed. Once ID tags are attached, the patient is ready to be transferred to a cryostat, which is the long-term storage unit. The patient transfer is done quickly but carefully while the insulation pouch is saturated with nitrogen, and there is no appreciable warm-up during transfer. Basically, they cool your body down, they transfer your body to the storage container as fast as possible.
Yeah.
While you're still in your little body, like insulated body bag, basically.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to point out a word that keeps coming up there.
I know what word you're going to point out.
What word?
Patient.
Patient.
Yeah.
So why are they saying patient instead of
Body
corpse
or
cadaver? And it's
because they're gonna attempt to revive them at some point.
Yeah, it's a type of language that they use.
Yeah.
To separate from death. They talk a lot about, both on Alcor and Cryonics.
They also call them CI members.
Yeah.
Because you're signing up for the service, so you're like an exclusive member of the service.
Yeah, you're a member of the service, and also it's like they don't say, when they're doing the description, they don't say once the person has died. They say once the person is declared legally dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just to create this extra
or
layer
clinically dead
of separation. Yeah.
Yeah, because they want to have people thinking that, it's not permanent, that they will be brought back, right?
Yeah, that's the whole end game.
Yeah, that's the environment they're trying to create.
Yeah, the whole premise of this, essentially, is we don't have the technology now to revive people, but we could have the technology to revive people.
We're working on it.
If you have a disease or something that there's no cure for, perhaps when you're revived in the future. So you're kind of relying on science to take us to a place not only where we can revive cryogenically frozen people after indeterminate amounts of time, but also cure whatever killed them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's what they're banking on. That's the whole premise.
Yeah, it's a big Hail Mary pass when you're like terminally ill and then you pass away. There's no guarantee that disease will ever be cured, and there's not even a guarantee yet that we can stably revive these people.
Yeah, the only things that have been revived have been like single cell organisms. Embryos have been.
Yeah, so these procedures are used commonly with reproduction issues. So like people that freeze their eggs or freeze their sperm. And because those tissues are so small, like microscopic, it's way easier to freeze them quickly and do no damage, and also thaw them quickly and do no damage. So with a body, it's way different.
Yeah.
Way different.
Yeah. So far, no mammals have been revived.
Are tardigrades mammals?
No.
Dang it.
It's like, no. Shut it down. So what do we think?
Those things are amazing.
They are.
Do we think, fuck it, why not? Take a shot. Or do we think, like, these people are exploiting vulnerable people?
It's weird, right? Because it is kind of what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
A certain way.
Especially if your insurance is paying for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if there are a bunch of people investing in this and doing this, that's going to create more incentive for us to find a way to unfreeze people and do that down
You
the
hope,
line.
you
I
hope
think.
so. You
Where
hope so.
that's, I don't know, maybe like it's creating its own solution in a certain way if we can ever get there.
Yeah. What happens if it works, you know? What happens if
And there's
you
hundreds of people that wake
up
the next day.
and you've got all these disabilities and issues from your brain being half frozen and
Yeah.
pathways being broken down?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you wake up and all your loved ones are dead? What happens if you wake up and the planet is worse than it was
I mean,
when
that's,
you went in?
There's just a good
like,
chance that'll happen if
that's
you
the
wake up
basis
like a
of
year from now.
sci-fi. I have
Let alone
this,
100.
I'm on the frequently asked questions on Alcor right now, and one of the questions is, if cryonics works for me, won't all my friends and relatives be dead? And they're like, eh.
Likely.
well, convince them to do
maybe.
it too.
Depends on how young your friends are. Get younger friends, says Alcor.
Start hanging out with
At the end, it says, at any
6-month-olds.
rate, if cryonics works, it will give you the greatest opportunity of all, the ability to make new friends.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
wow. They're really reaching with that one.
love
Alcor,
it.
Alcor, stop.
That's so funny. So
Wow.
Alcor is like the kind of granddaddy company, Life Extension Foundation.
Yeah,
So
like the Disney to Cryonics Institute's Pixar.
yeah, sure, or
there you
DreamWorks
go.
even because
Yeah.
they're
DreamWorks.
competing.
Yeah. Oh, right, because Disney owns Pixar now.
Yeah.
They didn't initially though.
No, I don't think so.
Um,
I mean, I don't think I would want to wake up in the future
I don't.
fuck that shit.
with everybody I know dead.
So
I'm
here's,
cool with dying.
Here's the situation that I would be cool with my body being frozen and revived, is if I was on some kind of spaceship and we were traveling for say 100 years to
Yeah.
like Alpha Centauri or something.
Yeah.
You would need that.
And you were with other people as well,
Yeah. And
so
there
that
was,
you would
like,
be unfrozen
if
at the
the
same time as other
science
people.
was if the science and the technology was advanced enough to actually guarantee that when you wake up you're not like handicapped and
Yeah.
can't walk and
Yeah.
all your bones are broken and brittle as fuck.
Well, it's like
You know?
it's not legal to. I mean, the laws are iffy as is about. Like I think in BC they have a specific law that's like you can have your body cryogenically frozen as long as it's done with the understanding that it's not gonna work.
Not 100%.
Yeah, if they're like, this is
As
you're
long as
gonna
they're not saying like,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll thaw you someday.
yeah,
Yeah.
as long as it's just like explicitly said. But a lot of places don't really have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that if you scoured both of these websites, I'm sure there's nowhere on the website that it says this is guaranteed to save your life.
Yeah.
Most of them are
Like,
just
they
like,
can't- They
why
can't
not?
guarantee
It
that.
might happen. Make new friends.
But the
Make younger friends.
But it isn't legal, of course, to start the cryogenic process before somebody is declared legally dead.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about space travel and stuff like that, that would be undergoing cryogenic sleep or whatever
Yeah.
while you're
Willingly.
living,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, and with the,
Without disease, hopefully.
with the reality of that too, if we ever do get to a point where we can travel distantly in space, it'll be generational ships. It won't be freezing,
Probably.
right? It'll just be people get on the ship and they go, and their great
have-
grandkids are the ones that arrive at the place we're supposed to be getting at,
Yeah.
and they just live their lives.
Yeah.
But a lot of like sci-fi premises are they're frozen in chambers and
Yeah,
then,
I mean, you don't want your main character to die before you get to the
Yeah.
plot of the
Mm-hmm.
movie or
You
whatever.
signed Chris Pratt for $25 million.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to use him for just the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
yeah, it just makes sense. A big argument of theirs is both of them cite nanotechnology, basically being like, hey, we thought this shit was impossible.
Yeah, it's true. It's getting
And
there.
people used to die of just like basic shit
Hmm.
before advancements. And so there's part of me that kind of gets that, but it
And, like,
doesn't exactly connect,
Just
you know?
just the advancement of like us figuring out how vitrification works, like that wasn't a thing when people first started freezing bodies.
Yeah.
So it's already since the 1960s when it was first an idea that was implemented. It's already advanced to a
Yeah,
point where
exactly.
we can kind of stem some of the actual tissue damage,
Yeah.
which is like the main inherent danger aside from it's already a dead body.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. There's just a lot we don't know about it.
Yeah, but
just as
it is
human
advancing
beings.
quickly.
Yeah, I mean, in so much as that it can't be tested, right? So it's like it could just be more steps to something that's just as ineffective. We don't really know that yet. The first person, James Hiram Bedford, was frozen by Alcor Life Extension Foundation. We're just really advertising for them right now. Hey, he died.
We had a disclaimer at the top of the show.
Yeah,
These are companies designed to make money. We know.
He died January 12th, 1967. It really doesn't say much about him except for that he had kidney cancer.
Yeah.
That moved to his lungs.
It was incurable at that point.
Yeah. So he left $100,000 to Cryonics research in his will.
Real big spender. That's $1967 too.
Yeah, and like his family had to spend more money on lawsuits and stuff, right?
Yeah, because the rest of his family were like, "This is fucked. What are you doing?"
Which I don't. If somebody puts something in their will,
yeah,
it's like
you
shit.
do that thing that they put in the will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
Agreed.
Can. I don't understand the argument.
I think for some people that it would maybe be useful coping wise when you're dealing with imminent death, the kind of faint possibility that you could be revived or something like that. And that's what leads me to think that this is inherently exploitive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, shit, people have a right to decide how to deal with their shit as well. So
Yeah, and
my
it's
body,
also,
my choice.
Yeah, it is. It's
absolutely.
someone choosing to take the risk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's an inherently risky thing, and I don't think that these companies are advertising it as like the fail-safe, we will revive you back to 100% faculties. Like, these people that do this know that there's a good chance they'll never get revived.
Yeah,
and
I
if
guess
they do, that they won't have the same quality of life.
If someone you cared about chose to do this, I don't know, would that weird you out thinking that they may come back someday?
I'll be dead, so
I would say
doesn't worry me at all.
Probably wouldn't think of it as something that would work. I would be thinking of it as something that was helping them cope. I think some families would have problems with the money. You know? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, they're spending my inheritance essentially on something that's not proven at all.
Not if the insurance covers it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the one.
A big if, though,
that's a big
right?
if.
Yeah.
That is an elective procedure.
Yeah.
And a lot of insurance companies don't mess with that shit.
Pretty much widely regarded as like
fake
science. So
pseudoscience.
Insurance companies are known for wanting to give you as much money as possible,
yeah,
right?
it's true. They're very generous.
Totally, yeah, so generous.
Yeah.
Especially if you have pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
They love you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if it's like an ongoing thing, right? Where they've already put so much money into it before they die as
something
well.
like the plans go for something like $30 a month. So
Well,
you
the
pay a big lump sum, and then it's $30 a month from then on.
The Cryonics one, I think it was $28,000.
Yeah.
And that is
$25 after that a month.
The more cost-effective.
I mean, $25 a month, that's $300 a year-ish, times how many, 100 years?
Yeah.
However long you're going to spend in there?
I mean, that's the other,
That's like doubling the cost of the initial $2,800,
Yeah. And if you can, they have a little video on the Cryonics website, and in there they mention that they take the money and they put it in investments.
Yeah.
And low risk, so that they will continue, which is all right, that's a smart way to run the business.
GICs almost.
But also, to me, sounds kind of like, oh, we're just getting money from people and we're going to invest it to make more money. It is a
little shady. Like, they're taking the money, and these procedures probably don't cost. Liquid nitrogen is relatively cheap.
And they're charging you rent for body storage.
Liquid nitrogen is relatively cheap, so I can't imagine that it costs more than $1,000 in liquid nitrogen to actually freeze these bodies.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to know how much Alcor charges?
Yeah, I do.
Minimum cryopreservation funding, and you have to basically guarantee that you can pay for this before your death as well.
Sure. Cash up front.
Yeah. $200,000 for whole body cryopreservation.
Wow.
So that's $115,000 to the Patient Care Trust, which means after you've gone.
Yeah.
And $60,000 for cryopreservation.
Wow. That's 10 times the cost of Alcor's.
Yeah. And then you could pay $80,000 for neurocriopreservation, which is just your head. And then there's something called the CMS fund. I don't know what that is.
CMS fund.
But that's another $25,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I would be
and
curious.
And there's surcharges too. $10,000 if you're outside of Canada or the U.S. $50,000 surcharge for cases in China.
I would be so curious to figure out. Well, that's because extraditing nationals from China is difficult.
Yeah. $25,000 for cryopreservation if a non-member arranges it by third party. So if somebody else who's like a Alcor member arranges for someone outside of membership,
Weird.
it's $50,000.
I wonder how much actual research into the revival and stuff like that these
I don't think
Companies
that.
and
I don't
it
think
sounds
that-
like there's not any. They're just like, science will deal with it. Like
Which-
science is just like magic, you know?
if you're
I don't
getting that
think that
money, that's
these-
where you should be investing it in, right? If you're selling
Yeah,
these people
like
this
credit card
idea.
companies aren't investing in financial advisors for you.
No. And I was gonna say when I was like the investment thing, I was like, but that's also just what a bank does. They take
Yeah.
your money and they invest it.
Yeah,
To make
it is
themselves
similar
more
to what
money.
a bank would do, but it's your body.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be curious. So Alcor's, their payment scheme is like 10 times the price of CI's.
Mm-hmm.
I would be curious to know how different the actual freezing procedure is
Yeah.
and the monitoring and the storage.
It looks
like,
very similar.
Oh, our cryostats are much more luxurious and comfortable. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm a
right.
dead body.
It doesn't matter.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just so curious as to why there's such a huge difference.
Yeah, where's the disparity there? Where's that money?
Is it because
going?
they're like the bigger name? They're like
the original, the
they're
OG?
the, they're the Nike.
yeah,
of
it's
this?
crazy. Some of this stuff is like
Cryonics is Puma.
insanely like. Oh my god.
Hey, I
Yeah,
fuck with
no,
Puma.
yeah, just
I fuck with
I
Puma.
like Puma.
I got nothing against Puma either. I'm just saying.
They are, yeah.
Yeah, still good though. Unlike either of these, I think the more I read about it, the more exploitive it looks.
I know.
Long-term member,
that's the feeling
total
I'm
membership
getting.
of 40 years or longer is $60 annually or $30 semi-annually, and that's the longest term one. But you can start like
There's a time limit?
yeah, they're charging you annually after you die
Yeah.
to maintain preservation of your body. So
But you say like up until 60 years and then
40.
and then they're just like, all right, well, didn't figure it out. We're just
Yeah.
Sorry.
chucking this one out.
yeah,
the dumpster.
basically,
That
and
is
if you only
fucking
pay
ridiculous.
for 20 to 24 years, it's $430 annually.
Why would they're not gonna figure
like-
it out in 20 years?
That's like the same as the $30 a month scheme, basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
There's-
it really is similar, right?
there's no discernible difference there. The discernible difference is like the initial startup cost of $200,000 plus all the incidental costs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just looking
Don't die
at
in China, guys. Whatever you do,
Just
don't
in
die.
general, don't
die
die in
in China.
just-
Especially don't
just
die in China.
Die. Let yourself die.
But not
It's
in China.
fine. I have no interest when people talk about like the apocalypse or something. I'm just like, just die.
Yeah.
I don't.
like,
I don't want to fucking become like some sort of survival warrior. Fuck that shit. I'm gonna
like people
poison
ask-
myself and die on my own terms.
People ask you like, what would you do if you got kidnapped? I'd be like, I'd probably just wait for death.
Just let it happen. Yeah.
Like but you could be a hero. You could save other kidnap victims. I'm like, no,
I want.
I think I would do that if it was like, say, if I was a parent, that would be a different thing. But
I want to believe that I would be heroic and stuff like that, but I'm sure I would just shut down and
I'd just find like a sharp
yeah.
piece
be
of
like,
glass.
all right, just fucking shoot me.
yeah,
I don't know. It's
What
I
way to
love
go?
like sci-fi and that kind of stuff.
yeah.
I don't want to gamble, man. It doesn't seem like things are gonna get better.
Yeah, I don't
Am
know.
I gonna
though.
wake up to a better future? I don't know, man.
Maybe.
Plus, it's
Good.
like, what if we're like Encino Man and we're like primitive versions of human beings and we can't even blend into like.
Brendan Fisher.
Yeah, see, that is
He
one
was
thing.
so hot during that time.
Young Brendan Fraser, like Airheads.
Babe.
Airheads,
Oh,
Brendan
yeah.
Fraser, and Encino Man Brendan Fraser was.
I'll say it. Even the Mummy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, into
What
it.
was the movie where he was in a vault underground?
Blast from the Past.
Yeah, that was great too. And he was a real hunkadelic in that.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
Anyway,
I mean, there's one. Yeah. So one thing too is like the Flynn effect, where we've learned that like through like IQ tests and stuff like that, that generationally people get smarter and smarter and smarter.
Mm-hmm.
So like somebody that may have been an average intelligence from like 1850 would be considered like low intelligence now, just because they don't have as much stimuli and stuff like that. Kind of.
it's kind of like the opposite of the plot of Idiocracy.
Exactly. Yeah. And
The
so
exact
like
opposite.
and like the guy that studied this was actually setting out to prove that people were getting stupider.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then all the evidence pointed
That
the
would
other
have
way.
been my assumption.
Yeah, no,
right?
but it's actually people get smarter, right? So if you were revived 200 years from now, they would
fuck
think you
that
were an
shit.
idiot, not just because of like all the stuff you don't
Yeah,
know
but you'd
about the
be-
present day, because you
But you'd be also
stupider.
you'd also be like a novelty to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like-
you could end up locked in a fucking zoo.
People
or
would
being
treat you like
studied.
a pet or something.
Yeah.
That would be my fear.
Exactly. Like, shit.
Like
Yeah.
in Encino Man.
Like a
Yeah.
lot like an Encino
Oh,
Man. Treat him like a
hilarious.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting concept to
Yeah.
wake up and be surrounded by super geniuses.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, I guess you get to live in this world where you benefit from the hyper intelligence of the society around you, but you're also like, everyone would treat you like
An idiot. Yeah.
Or they would study
They
you.
treat you like a child, or they study you, or they keep you
Put
in
you
a
in
zoo.
a zoo. Yeah.
Yeah. And
If-
this is all like wild speculation on how,
Sure.
on our
Well, this
point,
is
but
all wild speculation as
Yeah.
a topic.
the whole topic.
So-
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You're right.
But I have absolutely no, I don't know. I just feel like it just speaks to just a very deep fear of death.
Yeah.
And
I think so.
Loss
Yeah.
of legacy. And I think there's something
There's a reason that
just,
5 of these 7 institutes are in the States.
yeah,
It's because we, as the Western
we
world,
can't deal with death.
we don't handle death
No,
well.
we're just-
Mhm.
And if there's like a light at the end of the tunnel where it's like, okay, I'll die, but I'll come back in a millennia.
Yeah. Anyway. Any.
Yeah.
Way to
Anything
fix
is better
Especially
than
as
death.
like increasingly fewer of us believe in an afterlife.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah. That's true. Right.
you know,
If-
there's
when you're
that
done, you're
used to
done.
be like a real nice buffer for the, you know, the end, you know.
Religion was the cryonics of the past.
Yeah. Good save. Good save.
We don't want some scientists coming up and being like,
So-
fuck you guys.
Did we like? What is cryogenics then?
Cryogenics is basically the practice and the study of freezing things to extreme temperatures, so minus 196, I think.
They can go colder. That's just like when you freeze with liquid
That's
nitrogen.
what officially makes it cryogenics, is when you reach that temperature. So
So
below
at
that.
a certain point, cryonics becomes cryogenics.
There's an overlap in the practice,
Right.
like in the actual procedure, but as far as the title goes, you know,
It's cryonics.
yeah, cryogenics covers a lot of other things too. There's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
those chambers for training, even like obviously freezing eggs, but even like you ever heard those like fat freezes, right? Where people, it's like a beauty thing
No.
where people go in and they get their fat cells treated because it's when you expose your fat cells to like extreme cold, it doesn't damage your other tissue in the same way it does your fat. So people are going in and
What?
zapped. And you never heard of this?
No.
I mean, I grew up in Saskatchewan, and I feel like I was
It's
fatter in
fairly
the
it's
winter.
fairly new.
Right.
I'm gonna look it
You
up.
needed
So
that
I-
fat.
I don't believe it.
You needed that fat.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was important. It was survival.
Yeah. Winter weight.
No, I've never heard of cryogenic fat blasting.
It's called cool sculpting is like the trademark.
Wow.
It's called cryogenic lipolysis.
Lipolysis.
Yeah. It only really works if you're already skinny and you have like a little
A little extra.
little thigh
extra
chub
stuff
that you
on
want to tone or something.
Yeah, you
know?
want to blast those love handles away with liquid nitrogen.
Yeah. So there's like this
Huh.
little rod. They just kind of go over the surface of your skin with it, and it just freezes
Must
your
be
fat
the most
cells.
uncomfortable thing in the fucking
Yeah,
world.
fuck that shit, right?
Yeah. No, thank you.
So that's a thing.
It looks like an ultrasound.
But
Yeah.
obviously, it's used for other things in science. This, if you go to cryonics,
Probably make some wicked ice cream with that wand.
yeah. So it's just a lot more. It seems like it's very broad, and there's lots of things that cryogenics can be used for and to study. So it's like just way more involved. And when you read about cryonics in comparison to cryogenics, you're like, oh yeah, cryonics is just it's pretty much crackpot.
I mean, yeah, there's no evidence to support it right now, right?
And they say that like they're like basically like, it's a shot in the dark. We're doing our best here. Basically, their only concern is trying to preserve the tissue as well as they possibly can, for as long as they can,
Yeah.
for as
And
much as they can.
the closer to 0 Kelvin you get,
Yeah.
the longer it'll be preserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's yeah. There's part of me that thinks it's exploitive for sure. Definitely, the cost of it is ridiculous.
I think it's just too early to know. There's so many different facets of how technology and science is advancing that like this could be they could solve this problem of reanimating a frozen corpse in like a decade or 100 years.
Yeah,
You know, there's no way to tell.
but also is it worth? Is it worth solving?
I
You
don't
know,
know. Yeah, I don't know.
when the focus could just be like on eliminating diseases and aging and the things that cause death in the first place, right?
Well, that's part of
Yeah.
it too. Like if they have a terminal disease, they have to find the cure before they defrost these people.
Yeah. It just feels like it's just so much more personal based and than it is like science
Yeah.
based.
Well, it's a way for someone to kind of put their faith in science.
Yeah, and I do think that that's a little bit dangerous as well because it's like we're defunding science programs like everywhere.
Yeah, no
but at the
shit.
same
Yeah.
time, we're just like, science is magic and it's going to fix all of our problems.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, yeah, but you know, it's like, it's not, it's still a process, you know. You might get to
Yeah.
the end of the line and be like, oh, it just isn't possible.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know?
I mean, human beings are really good at kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we'll deal with
Future
this
generations'
problem
problem.
later.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, dump a giant ice cube into the Arctic Sea every
Yeah.
couple 100 years.
Yeah. Let's keep everything cool.
Keep everything cool.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good here for another couple years.
I mean, there's part of me that does encourage it because, I mean, obviously, human beings striving to be immortal is like the basis for a lot of scientific foundation, you know, is fighting nature and
Yeah.
advancing ourselves as a, you know, as an organism. But I don't know. There's that compassionate side of me that's like, fuck these guys, right? Like, it's just so expensive.
It seems really flimsy.
Exactly.
There's not a lot of science to it, but the
Yeah.
argument, I guess, is why not? And if that's what you want to do,
Yeah, I don't think it should be illegal or anything. It just sucks, I think. It just makes me sad to think about these people that instead of like, I don't know, embracing their death and spending their time with their loved ones, they're thinking about how quickly can I get my body frozen the second I die, you know?
I need to move to Michigan
Yeah.
so I can die there and cut down on
It's
transportation
just like if you
costs.
don't get revived, then you've wasted your final moments on Earth
yeah. I mean,
doing bullshit.
the argument to that might be that it did give these people, make the transition a little bit easier for them if they have that
Yeah.
little bit of hope.
Yeah.
Maybe they were able to kind of accept that they were dying.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, it's clearly coping.
So, do we want to spend the last part of this episode talking about a couple of Canadian cryogenics cases, or I guess one
We
Canadian?
just have one that I found.
We've got a couple people that we can talk about.
Yeah. I guess the one in BC,
Keegan McIntosh.
Keegan McIntosh. Yeah, he wanted his body frozen through Alcor. And like I said earlier, the province has laws preventing sales of cryogenic services with the expectation of being revived.
Yeah.
And so basically it was just like he had to like navigate this vague law
Yeah.
to sign up for his membership. And did so successfully in the end, I believe.
Yeah, I'm all for someone challenging laws.
Yeah, sure, right?
Especially like the thing for me that's tricky about cryonics is that the less that we do it, the less we're going to learn about it. So the more people that do sign up for it, like maybe they don't ever get resuscitated properly, but they're almost donating themselves to the science
Yeah.
of cryonics, not necessarily to the
Yeah,
the
they're
idea of
investing
getting
in the field.
yeah. So I can appreciate him wanting to do this
Yeah, totally.
for that aspect alone, to push the laws forward and kind of pave the roadmap for how people in BC and Canada would go about this.
Yeah, it's pretty much what you would. There's not really anything super interesting as an individual about this person in BC, except for the fact that they're like pretty much the only one that challenged the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is. Sorry, it wasn't Alcor. It's a society called Lifespan Society of BC. I think they work with Alcor, don't they?
He was using Alcor, but because the laws in BC prevent him from actually signing up with Alcor, he had to go through Lifespan BC to actually get the membership.
But it's still through
But
Alcor.
the actual process is being taken care of by Alcor,
Okay, cool.
is what I understand from this.
Yeah, it's a bit of a confusing article.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and I
the
mean,
argument is very, like, it's like a vague word, like the way they state it, right? Like you can't guarantee this, but then it's also like, okay, well then what is, because they don't guarantee it, but
Yeah.
they don't make it, like they're also
They
like,
do it with the expectation that's the hope, that's the motivation.
Yeah, and just to highlight how kind of strange and nebulous this article is, one of the segments is just titled "Case Has Bizarre Aspects."
They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, even like the
This is from
CBC
CBC,
journalists don't really even know how to handle this whole situation. Yeah. The article talks about like how he contracted the U.S. providers, being Alcor, through Lifespan BC, and that's basically, for now, as far as the laws in BC, that's how anyone else would go about signing up for this procedure.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of like, you don't sign up for the procedure with Alcor, you sign up for Lifespan BC, and then they contract with CI or Alcor or whoever. And it's just kind of like it's like a legal loophole that he found, basically.
Yeah, the last line is a quote from Lifespan. Lifespan agrees that when, in Lifespan's best judgment, it is determined that attempting resuscitation is in the best interest of the cryopreserved member, Lifespan shall attempt to resuscitate. So, yeah, it's just basically saying, like, if we get there, we'll do that.
Yeah.
I guess, when we think it's right.
At our own discretion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
It's
again,
just
when
all
do we...
very vague. Vague.
It's not going to be all of a sudden one day we're like, oh, we figured it out. Let them all out.
Yeah,
or it could be like, well, this is the last year of his membership, or we're shutting down the facility. Let's try to revive all these people.
Yeah, that's kind of like at the behest of Alcor. Once they decide, like, you didn't meet this year's payment, so
we'll try to revive you.
We'll try to revive you now. Like, I don't know how that would work, or do they just dispose of the body? Like,
yeah,
that's such a bummer, right? Can you imagine, like, your family fortune or something just being like dwindled on this just to be,
especially if you're going through Alcor, you're just paying $250,000.
Yeah,
$595
a year or something.
Your husband or whatever has been dead for 10 years and he's in Arizona.
Yeah.
And you get a letter in the mail and it's like, we're sending the body back. I hope you have a grave site picked out or something.
Yeah, it doesn't really say how that works. Like once the payments aren't made, or
it doesn't mention anything about that.
No.
And that's part of what makes me uncomfortable, is there's just really very little accountability.
Yeah.
They're just like, we'll do our best, and you just kind of have to bank on the fact that they've got your best interests at heart, which is like,
these sites, they focus on how state of the art their freezing process is, and they focus on how rapidly they can cool you, and they can guarantee that the nitrogen levels are monitored and all this stuff, and like, so we check the temperature of the cryostats daily. It's like they're focusing on the freezing. They're not focusing on the resuscitation. I don't think they have a plan for the resuscitation. Which is certainly
the focus of the people who have the service.
Yeah, I don't think that they even have a plan for resuscitating any of these people.
And
they're waiting for other facets of science technology to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because that's not their business. Their business is selling the storage.
And there's no accountability for that. If they mismanage or, even improperly store something or anything like that.
Yeah, it's basically, we just took a storage locker and a meat locker and you jammed them together.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you took a freezer and and a high school locker stack.
Yeah.
I just feel like in the language, there's no accountability outside of "we'll do our best, trust us," and I feel like that could be a little bit more defined.
Yeah, it's like, we'll do our best at freezing you.
And I get why
getting
it has
unfrozen
to be
is your
they
problem.
Don't have the information.
Yeah,
but
it's selling something that doesn't exist yet, right?
Yeah,
essentially.
And that, I guess,
it's selling storage for something.
Yeah, and that's the argument, I guess, with the government. It would be like, well, they can't make these promises,
Yeah,
and
you're buying a fancy grave.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but also an impermanent grave.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something sad.
This whole thing is sad. What are you talking about?
This one's especially sad because it's about a teenage girl.
Oh yeah, the girl that won the.
In the UK, she died of cancer. She was 14 and she wanted to be frozen, and so she had to fight for that right, and she couldn't even make her court dates because she was so ill. And eventually she won the right to be frozen. It cost her family, more than $60,000. Obviously, she's not named because she was a minor at the time.
Yeah.
That's pretty young to be working in a mine. You're welcome.
Yeah.
That's weird too, right? Because she's so young that
she just didn't want to die.
Yeah,
she was a 14-year-old that didn't want to die,
Yeah.
and that's sad, because I get that. That's totally legitimate.
Yeah, it just seems it's just a little skeezy. I don't know.
Well, when you
You're
like
right.
it's one thing when you're talking about adults making this decision and being able to weigh the options, and apparently she would just research this cryonics in her hospital bed, and this was what she did.
Yeah, she's looking for a solution because she hasn't gotten solutions from anywhere else.
Yeah, it's deeply depressing.
It also says here that the girl's divorced parents disagreed about the procedure, with the mother favoring it and the father initially saying no. So that's another layer of depression
and she fought
heartbreak.
For her mother to have the right
Yeah.
to dispose of her body and no one else to have that right.
Mm-hmm.
So the father lost total control of the situation as well.
It's just a really wild scenario to be in. Your 14-year-old daughter is asking you to freeze her body, and you're just like, there's no guarantee this is going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But then it has a quote from her, and she just says, I want to have this chance. This is my wish.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you say at that
And
point?
and who are you to deny somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah, did it
Without
help?
hope.
Did it help her in those final moments?
I'm sure to a certain degree.
Hopefully.
Or did going in and out of court, having her parents fight over this?
She was too sick to attend the court sessions.
It's true,
most of the
but
time, so-
obviously it was going to affect her.
Yeah. I'm just saying, that's the area of the end of life roadmap that she was in.
Yeah.
So I think any little thing helps. It just did it, for the amount of good it did her, the amount of grief and anguish it probably caused those parents.
Yeah.
It
It does say
It's
here
just a
that
messed up situation.
that her father did change his mind, and he said, this is what she wants,
Mm-hmm.
this is what she asked for me. So, and yeah, it cost over $600,000 or $60,000. Sorry.
I mean, it sounds like the three of us are all going to be really embarrassed in 20 years when all these people from the past start waking up and walking around.
I won't care. I'll be
Man,
fucking
we're
dead.
Will our faces be red? You know what? If I die and it's free, sure. I don't know, freeze me. I don't really think I'll be coming back. But sure, why not, I guess. But if I got to pay for it.
I like the idea of being released from my human limitations and having my brain uploaded into a robot exoskeleton a la Chappie.
Ooh, Chappie.
Yeah, the end of... I don't know if you guys have seen Chappie.
I haven't seen
I've
Chappie,
seen
but
Chappie.
that's
Do you mind if I spoil
okay.
it for you?
No, not even a little bit.
So Chappie is a robot AI developed by the guy from Slumdog Millionaire. I can never remember that actor's name.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, Slumdog Millionaire is about to die, but they figure out how to transfer Slumdog Millionaire's consciousness into one of the robot bodies, and then he can essentially live forever.
Oh, really?
He's ascended to the next evolution. It's about the evolution of the human race and how that's going to be the next step, basically.
Yeah.
Is us moving
I'm into
moving
that.
out of our corporal bodies.
I don't know. You think a human consciousness or brain or whatever could handle that?
No.
Being so...
Only one way to find
unattached
out.
I think
attached
you'd
from your body
you'd
and-
lose track of who you are.
Well,
quickly.
time
Yeah, I
would
don't know.
become irrelevant.
Or like that movie, Her,
Similar to that,
where
yeah.
she gets so advanced that she loses track of this one
Yeah.
personality. That's a good movie. I like that one.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix actually acting.
I know.
Yeah. Acting. He acted so hard.
He was, yeah.
I'm excited for the Joker movie.
Yeah, I'd like to see too.
I didn't think I was going to be because I don't really want a Joker origin movie.
Yeah.
It's the same reason I didn't want a Boba Fett origin movie. He doesn't need one.
Or Han Solo.
Yeah, they don't need them.
They're just not deep enough characters.
Well,
no,
part
like-
of the appeal is that
Yeah,
They're
they are.
mysterious.
yeah, exactly. We know the last time we saw Boba Fett, he was holding his father's head in his hands in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And that's all we need to know about him.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the origin story. is that he watches his father get murdered in front of him by a Jedi.
Yeah, I guess it's just because he's so mysterious. I don't even
Yeah.
know why he's around. I'm just like, he's just
He's just a bounty hunter. Just a
He was
badass
just a cool
bounty
character
hunter.
in the background that all the nerds loved.
Hey, do you guys want to talk about some cryonics in pop culture?
Sure. I mean, we got Han Solo.
Yeah, I got Han Solo. Yeah, we went on quite a
See,
while.
the
about
aliens one I want to talk about because it's technically stasis, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference between stasis and...
If you want me to get real nerdy about it,
I do.
Stasis is the idea that they're put in a bubble that time doesn't penetrate.
Yeah.
So they're literally not aging. They're not
They're just
they're
frozen in time.
Frozen in time, so that they're not actually frozen.
They're not chilled.
Yeah, they're just not affected by time in any way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be an example of suspended animation. Some of these are not cryonics, but are suspended animation, and that's one of them.
Futurama's a great one because they really they subvert that trope so many times.
Yeah, they play
in
with
the
it,
show.
mess around with it so much.
Yeah, they have Fry. They have the, I don't know if I'm going to spoil a great episode of Futurama for some people listening, but the episode where you find out that Fry and Nibbler,
Yeah.
they basically orchestrate Fry falling into the tube.
Yeah, they go back and
They have to make Fry fall into the tube to
defeat the brain aliens.
Yeah, to defeat so he gets the Delta brainwave or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And just the way that they play with it. They play with time travel a lot, but they also, the way that they play with cryo.
Yeah.
Such a great
And
show.
like,
Because then they have him go back again later, right? And Bender's hunting him and travels back in time, and they do a whole bit with that as well.
Yeah. And like the guys who work at the cryogenics lab.
Yeah.
And the guy who, like, every time someone walks out of the cryostasis, he's like, "Welcome to the world of tomorrow." And like the second or third time that Fry steps out of the tube, he's like, whatever. And he brushes him off.
Yeah.
And like they play with that bit a couple times. Futurama has some of the best writing in TV ever.
Talk about
Encino
Star Wars a
Man's
lot.
great, and we talked about Brendan Fraser a little bit and just how much of a hunk he was.
Yeah.
But
Oh, God.
Pauly Shore, just being Pauly Shore, I just can't.
Pauly Shore was in like every
Wheeze the
movie.
Juice.
I just can't stand Pauly Shore.
I love Pauly Shore.
I think he's really funny.
Just a real bugaboo of mine.
Yeah, Austin Powers.
Of course. I was just thinking of that scene where they're like handing him back his belongings, like he's getting out of prison.
Yeah.
One
Pretty
Swedish
peas.
penis enlargement pump. That's not mine.
That kind of thing isn't my bag, baby. One book. What is it?
Titled
The
Penis
Swedish-
Enlargement Pumps. That sort of thing is
It's
totally my bag, baby. By Austin Powers. Signed by Austin Powers. Yeah, that defreezing scene is iconic. When he's like on the little conveyor belt and he's goes through a hot shower and he's like, woo, goes through the hot shower and then he's like taking a piss at the urinal for like
Forever.
48 seconds or something. And just when you think he's like little like stabs of pee.
Yeah.
And just the way that they play with the audio, is so fucking
Austin
funny.
Powers went from being like kind of like a pop culture kind of phenomenon that was everywhere to being really annoying. But now I think enough time has passed. And it's good
It's
again.
exactly.
I never got to an annoying place.
How
with
often
it.
do you
I
think
watched-
Beyonce thinks about being a gold member?
I hope that she looks back on it fondly.
Because she takes
don't think
herself
she-
very seriously now.
Yeah, well,
I don't
was-
think she thinks about it at all.
Yeah,
It's amazing that
she
she was
probably
in
just thinks about what kind of boat she's going to buy today.
there. Yeah.
But
I don't even know if she thinks about anything or if she's just a vessel for the people managing her.
I don't know.
No, it's all
'Cause she's
her.
been so like groomed for show business since she was so young.
I got a lot of love for Queen Bee, so
apparently-
me too.
I would love to think that she thinks back on her times joking around on
with
set with Mike
humor
Myers with
and
a lot of
grace.
levity.
I think she co-directed that Netflix special.
Oh, the Coachella one?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think she actually
She was
co-directed
part
and
of
stuff
that.
as well.
Yeah.
So
I've only seen part of it, but so far so good.
they're making a fourth Austin Powers.
Really?
Yeah, they've
No.
been saying that for like almost
Really?
a decade.
I think it's actually in the works now.
Not
Good.
gonna look this
Probably
up.
because enough time has passed.
Yeah, I would
it's
I would
funny,
love
yeah.
another Austin Powers movie. I just don't know if Mike Myers has it in him.
Yeah. I know
He's
it
getting old,
became
man.
Yeah, he is. It became so self-referential after the first one. I think that's part of what
It's-
poisoned it.
So
Yeah.
it's got to be like son of Austin Powers, right? Like that's got to be the premise,
Well, they
right?
set up
He finds out that he has a kid or something.
In
yeah,
the-
like
so
it
in
would
the-
have to be, right?
in the end of Goldmember. They set up that Scotty was going to be the next Dr. Evil.
yeah.
So assumably
Yeah, it'd be cool
he
if
has.
they went with that.
Yeah, they have Seth
Green.
Green do something with like the new Austin Powers,
Yeah.
and maybe Mike Myers is like a the Obi-Wan Kenobi figure.
Yeah.
He's Q, or whatever they call Q in Austin Powers. Basil.
Basil, yeah.
He's the new Basil or whatever. I'd be into that. Like
I don't know. That doesn't really work. I think it would be like him discover, if they go that route, it'd be like him finding out he has a kid and then trying to reconcile that.
deal with his daddy issues that
Yeah.
he dealt with in Goldmember.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. We should write the new
Or
Austin
maybe
Powers
he gets
movie.
maybe
We
he
should.
has he
Yeah.
has a kid. He's
Fanfic.
going to. He knows he has the kid. Whoever's pregnant, whatever lady they do for that movie.
Wasn't there like an Austin Powers baby in one of them? Wasn't there already?
I don't know.
In
No, they just show him as a baby.
Okay.
But then he gets frozen again, and then he wakes up now, 20 years later or whatever, and his kid is 20 years old, and it's him dealing with that relationship.
I think they should go full circle, and they should make the movie that was the opening for Spy Who Shagged Me with Tom Cruise as
Oh my
Austin
God.
Powers and Danny DeVito as Mini-Me.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who played Dr. Evil.
Kevin
No.
Spacey.
Kevin
Kevin Spacey's done.
Yeah.
He's over.
Can't do it. Yeah, okay. We can't make that movie now. That's too bad.
Thanks, Kevin Spacey.
Great. Thanks, Kevin
Great.
Spacey.
This is the worst thing you've ever done.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're good now. We got
Repeating out a little bit.
we got lots. We got
Yeah,
lots
I
here.
think we're tired. We had an early start today because
Well,
of our photo shoot.
That first hour and 12 minutes was just talking about cryonics.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
we got lots there.
so we could cut down on some of
we
the
just talked
Star
for,
Wars.
Yeah, we just talked for half an
Just-
hour about movies.
Just chatting.
Should we do like little bonus snippets of all the crap we talk about that is not related to anything?
Yeah, sure.
Just,
We
like,
could
release
just edit it
that
together
randomly
and then
Yeah.
release it as like a mini episode or
Yeah.
something.
I mean, sure. Yeah. There's tons. There's probably at this point like 3 extra hours.
Yeah,
Of
exactly.
Awesome.
like usable, funny content that didn't fit the episodes.
Yeah.
You know?
So you could do like little, like a little montage or something like that. I don't know.
One of my friends, she works for Live Nation, so she gets to go to all these awesome events.
Yeah.
And she went to one with Seth Rogen.
Oh, cool.
And somebody was like, hey, do you have any advice for somebody who's like
Just starting out.
aspiring to be an artist or a performer? And he said, just fucking do it. Make shit.
Yeah.
Let it suck.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. Just keep doing it. You'll get better if you just keep doing it and don't stop doing it. So
Yeah,
I
that's-
was like, shit, that's good advice. And then
Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that advice from a few different places,
Yeah,
and
it's-
it is something that I've taken where I'm like, all right, just do it,
Just
just put it out
put it
there
out
because
there.
the
Who
alternative isn't
Yeah,
going
I
to
mean,
get you
like-
anything. So
yeah.
The amount of good feedback that I've gotten on all of this stuff that we're doing it outweighs any kind of negative stuff, and the negative stuff is always like technical things like
yeah,
Yeah.
or like oh, this episode wasn't as good as the last one. It's like, all right,
Yeah,
well that's still
or-
Yeah. I got a
that'll
few
happen.
people who were like talking about like interrupting and stuff on the first episode.
Yeah.
But then we improved on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
we're getting better.
I think so.
Anyway,
Anyways,
Sorry I interrupted you to say
wrap
that.
this bitch up. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can find us on all the social medias at Death Pod. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Start commenting on some of the Facebook stuff. Let's get a dialogue going. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you like, or a review. That boosts our numbers up on like
It does.
iTunes and everything like that.
helps us.
All counts.
Gets more exposure out there for us. The email is at deathpod@gmail.com.
Yep.
Where you can reach us, and if you have show ideas or you
Questions,
have your own
concerns,
experiences,
you want to
or-
yell at us?
Yeah.
for whatever, you just want to spam us with dick enlargement pill emails.
Or your dick.
I could use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
Anyway,
It's just like I just don't know where to find them,
Yeah, right. That's the perfect way to end this.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks, guys, and
Thank you.
remember, as always,
we're all gonna die.
Yep.
Bye.
yeah, unless you freeze yourself.
Yeah. We'll live forever. Thanks, guys. Bye.